right, now go.
Hi.
Whoa.
Well, what?
Whoa, we're live.
Oh, okay. I'm Scott, or Uncle Scott if you prefer, with feedSCV and the Speakeasy Bakery. This is a class on how to make dressing, not stuffing, dressing. We'll talk about the difference in just a sec. I want to do a little housekeeping before we get started. I'd like to thank the crew, Todd Wilson, Sydney Morell, Lee Morell, and Celeste Morrison. Couldn't do this without them. Remember to like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter and Instagram, and subscribe to our YouTube channel, feedSCV, and remember to like the posts. We're a 501c3 corporation. All donations are tax deductible, and all donations are always appreciated. Okay, that's the housekeeping. Let's get to it. First, dressing and stuffing. So stuffing is what you stuff into a turkey or a chicken or whatever you happen to be stuffing. I'm going to show you how to do dressing. The reason I'm not going to do stuffing is even though Nana Perini, my Italian grandmother, used to stuff the turkey every time, there's an issue, a potential issue, actually two potential issues. The first issue is when you put that stuffing inside the turkey, the juices from the turkey inundate it, and there could be a salmonella issue. I'm sure that most of you, including myself, have had turkey for most of your life and never had that problem. But there is a potential for it. The way to counter that issue is to make sure that the stuffing gets up to at least 165 degrees for a few minutes. The problem with that is if you bring it up to 165 degrees, it's very likely that your turkey is going to be overcooked. More than likely the white meat will be a little bit dry. So, it's not automatic, but I happen to prefer doing dressing because you don't have either of those issues. So what's dressing? Dressing is basically everything that you would put in stuffing except you bake it in the oven instead of inside of the turkey. There's a little bit difference as far as some of the ingredients. I'm not going to get into that. I'm just going to show you how to make dressing. So one of the things I want to repeat really every time that we do these classes is I'm not a chef. I don't play a chef on TV or YouTube or live streaming or anything like that. I'm a cook just like you. So it's a fair question to ask me, well, how do you know this stuff that I'm about to tell you? And it's a very fair question. And my answer is always going to be the same. Because I looked it up. Okay? I looked it up. I look up stuff. I'm a passionate foodie. I like to figure out and search for the best way of doing things. So this recipe, in my experience, is one of the better ones. It's very simple, but there are a few tricks to it. The first, as I said, is not to stuff it inside a turkey. It's to put it inside the oven. So the second trick is the bread that you use. There's a lot of choices for bread, obviously. I'm known as the bread guy. You'd think I'd want to use like a nice freshly baked artisanal loaf or a nice whole wheat focaccia or something like that, but you don't. And the reason that you don't is because, and this is something I know about from experience, when you get an artisanal bread, normally you're going to get those big holes, the big crevices that have inside. And that's frankly where the flavor is living when you are looking for a good piece of bread. However, the problem with that, or the difference between that and a nice piece of white bread, is the white bread has little tiny holes, and it acts more like a sponge. So that sponge-like bread is actually going to absorb more of the flavor and give you a better result. If you must use an artisanal bread or some other type of bread, challah is actually a pretty good one to use because it also has a pretty tight hole structure. So one of the things I'm not going to show you in this demonstration is what to do with the bread. Because, let me grab something here. I like to buy one of the better white breads. So I went to, can I say brands and stuff? Okay. So I went to Whole Foods. Their bakery has a pretty nice loaf of white bread. It's like everything you've come to expect from a white bread. And the second tip has to do with how you prepare the bread. So A lot of people have grown up thinking and being taught that you let the bread, you cut it up and you let it get stale overnight or over a couple of days. A better way to do it is to actually dry it out in the oven. And the reason there's a difference, your goal here is to actually evaporate the moisture from the bread. When you let it get stale, and I'm a little bit, it's a little bit above my pay grade to explain exactly what's happening, but I know that when you let bread stale, the moisture is actually not leaving the bread. It's migrating to a different part of the cell. So what happens is, yeah, the bread feels like it's dry, but what it really is tough. And that toughness is going to translate to your dressing. So a better way to do it is to cube it up, put it on big sheet pans, get it in the oven for about anywhere from 40 to 50 minutes at about 225. A couple of times during the process, shift, like if you're going to do it in a couple of big pans, if you're doing 2 loaves of bread, which is what this recipe calls for, you're going to want to put the pans on different levels and kind of put them in different positions so they get all the coverage. And at least once or twice during the 40 or 50 minutes, kind of jumble up the bread so they all get coverage. You don't really want to toast it. Some of it might end up toasting, but what you really want to do is just get it nice and dry. So when you take it out, the best way to find out if it's nice and dry is to actually taste it. So just pop one in your mouth, and it should be pretty crunchy, but not completely crunchy, because while it's out and cooling off, it's still going to have some evaporation. So I already did that, and I've got 2 loaves of bread. They're about a 3/4 inch chop, and those are all ready to go. So we'll get to that in a minute, because it's the first thing you do in the recipe, but it's the last ingredient that goes in. Okay, so what's the first ingredient we're going to cook? We got some sausage. Yeah. So the recipe that I started with actually calls for sage sausage. I went to the store and I couldn't find sage sausage, so I got my next favorite, which is the mild Italian. This is a place where you can experiment a little based on your own taste. And if you really want to kick it up a notch, what do you want to do? Richard, is it Richard?
Yeah.
Rich Egan or Roman? You're going to make your own sausage, right? So I didn't have time to make my own sausage, so I bought the mild Italian. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to get this into the pan with a stick of butter. This is 2.5 pounds, by the way. I'm sorry, 1.5 pounds. We'll post the whole recipe later on. I'm going to get that all nice and melty. Oh, it's off. That's not good. All right, live TV. Let's get that back up there. It was preheated. So at about a medium-high heat, which I'm told is about 350. Here, I need one of these. And once that's all melted, you want to let it come, foam up, but don't brown it. So we're almost there. All right. And let's see. All right, so we're gonna get it nice and chopped up. And we want to mostly brown it up. Obviously, I already took the casings off. If that wasn't obvious, now you know. You want to get it to the point where, there can be a little bit of pinkness because there's still some more cooking to go, but we want to get rid of most of the pinkness. All right, while that's browning, let's talk about what else is going to go in. So the next thing is going to be our aromatics. And we got 1 large brown onion. Thank you. We've got about 4 sticks celery stalks of celery, you know, celery. The recipe that I've got calls for 2 cloves of garlic, but I'm Italian, so I made it 3. You know, any of these you can kind of experiment with a little bit more, a little bit less to your taste. And then about a 1/4 cup of sage. Let's get rid of this stuff. While we're over here, let's give this a stir. Okay, I've still got a couple of minutes to go. I'm going to give it another 5. So the sage, you want to mince it pretty finely. If anybody wants to make any comments about my knife skills, please don't. I know I don't have great knife skills, but that's one of the things that hopefully we're going to be having a class on, and I'll be watching it. Okay, so we want about a 1/4 cup, so that's about a 1/4 cup. All right, still got quite a bit of pink in here, so we still got a couple of minutes to go there. Let me tell you just basically what we're going to be doing after this. I like to get all of these ingredients into a container and mix them up. It's just because eventually you're going to have to mix them up in the hot pot, and this just distributes it a little bit better. And plus, this is where I usually like to add my salt and pepper. And this again is just according to taste. They don't have a measurement for this. If you like it real salty, use more salt. If you like it more hot and peppery, or depending upon what kind of sausage you use, you could use a hotter sort of a spicy sausage, and then you don't want to use as much pepper. Let's get some salt in there. Boy, that's kind of a tiny little. Todd, we need to get a.
Just grab your fingers. A pinch. There you go.
All right.
Yeah, hold that.
All right. So get that tossed up. Hopefully by the time we get that all in, be ready to go in. And get that. All right, it's looking good. Almost all the pink is gone. And again, that's at a medium-high heat. Okay. I think we're in pretty good shape there. All right, I'm going to get my aromatics in. You give that a good stir. Now I know a guy whose grandma used to put a lot more sausage than this. Am I right, Mr. Wilson?
Sorry, reading the comments.
Oh, okay. Any comments? Any questions yet?
There was clarification on the casing.
Oh.
Could you go over the casing issue again?
Well, so definitely before you throw the sausage into the pot, remove the meat from the casing. So, you know, a nice sharp knife, zip it down the side and put it out. So yeah, please do that. You don't want whole sausages in your dressing. Okay, So we're going to let that sweat for another 8 to 10 minutes. So in the meantime, we're going to go to the next step. So we've got 3 eggs and some parsley and some chicken stock, or if you've got turkey stock, you can use that. And again, if you want to kick it up a notch, as what's his name says, you know, make your own. And if I'm making this for Thanksgiving, I'm making my own. But so this is about 4 cups in here. We're going to split it in 2.
Stephanie is asking, what if you didn't remove the casing of the sausage? Go in there and get it.
Then you're going to have dressing hot dogs, or dressing dogs, I guess. But if you didn't, I would say that you should do it now. You know, take it out. You can always, listen, if you cooked it in the casing, even, even if you know, it's being cooked, so that's not a problem. Even if you put in the aromatics, it's still cooking. Just before you're going to do all the other steps, remove the casing and make sure you chop it up good. Otherwise, you're going to have big chunky pieces of meat, which maybe, I don't know, maybe you like that. So we've got half of that. I'm going to get the eggs in here. Three eggs. And you know, dressing is essentially just a savory bread pudding. And bread pudding is essentially a custard. Therefore, the eggs. So if you think of it in that way, then I guess you're thinking of it that way. All right, so let's whip that up a little bit before we add the stock. Now, I should say that as far as if you're making this sort of start to finish, you know, the best way to do it is to start with the bread. While the bread is in the oven, you can start doing your mise en place, or put in place, getting all the other ingredients ready to go while the bread's in the oven. You'll even have enough time to start with these steps. So by the time all of this is cooked, you'll be ready to go when the bread's ready. Okay, so we've got some of that. We want to get about 1/8 of a cup chopped fresh parsley. Now, I didn't happen to think of it, but as an Italian, I should have used Italian parsley. But, you know, my grandmother would not be happy. But like I said, my grandmother used to put the darn stuff inside the turkey, so what the heck. Sorry now. Okay. Oh, I guess I got that. That into there. Get that nicely incorporated. Okay, and hopefully we've got another 2 cups. Otherwise, we got to talk to Whole Foods about their just right. Okay, so that's ready to go. Once this is ready to go, and basically everything's nice, and I think I'm going to get at some of these bigger chunks of sausage. Okay, I'm going to take that off heat right now. Actually, hold on. Let's turn that off. All right, so before we add this to here, before we add the egg slash stock slash parsley We're going to put the rest of the stock in here and let that cool down a little bit. Cute. Because one thing I've learned is that once you get the bread in there, you got to work kind of fast because you don't want the first cubes of bread that you put in to absorb everything, and then the last cubes absorb hardly any. So you really want to work fast. There's actually another way that you could help this along, and that's just have a bigger pot. But we don't have a bigger pot, so I'm going to show you the way to do it in a smaller pot. Because I honestly don't have that big of a pot at home. So that's going to be, hopefully, right now it's not very cool, but let me get another pad here. So you want to get the egg and stock mixture in here, but just pour it slowly, because even though the egg is pretty well dispersed, if you put it in all at once, it could cook the eggs, and then you have scrambled eggs, which you definitely do not want scrambled eggs. So we're going to very slowly just kind of dribble it in, and hopefully this will also cool it off a little bit more, because my unique solution to the mixing in the bread is to stick your hands in there. So you want it as cool as possible. And, you know, if it gets really bad, let's see, I think I want to keep that, but I don't need that. All right. You know, one thing you could do is get a little bit thicker gloves than I've got here, if it is hot. But you could also just let it sit there for a few minutes before you put the bread in. So we've got two.
Who are you showing?
I don't know.
There's nobody here.
I'm showing the audience, okay?
They're all at home.
So yeah, well, so 2 loaves of bread, cubed, dried out, ready to go. So what I'm going to do is test first. Definitely not cooking my finger. So I'm going to get the first bag in. Get the second one ready to go. And just get in there. Have some fun with this. Oh yeah, that's hot. Okay. That's not too bad. Okay. Let's get the second. Yeah.
Why are you doing your hands and not some implement here?
Because an implement is just by its nature, it's not as controllable. When you've got your fingers, you can reach down in there. It just goes faster, and you make less of a mess. The first time I tried this in a too small pot, actually the real answer is just get a bigger pot. That's the real solution. But if you don't have that big pot, or if you're at home right now trying to make it, this is the best way to do it. Because you have more control. I guess control is because you just want to get it as dispersed as possible. So it's looking pretty good right now. It's mixed up pretty well. Feels like most of the liquid on the bottom has been incorporated.
Mary is asking, do you use the heel of the bread at all?
You could. I didn't, but you could. I'm not a heel person. My wife loves the heel, and so, you know, don't tell her. I didn't use the heel. But there's no reason why you couldn't. I mean, that'll give you, you know, the heel has a tendency to get a little bit crispier, right? All right. It's time for the oven. So you want to, after you do the bread, you want to increase the oven temperature to about 350. And actually, hold on. Sorry. Oh man, I forgot to butter the. You want to butter, or you can use, you can use some kind of a, Pam or whatever the spray stuff is. You just want to make sure this stuff will stick like crazy if you don't put something in. You could even use olive oil if you wanted. Just some kind of a fat to keep it from sticking. Okay, that's good. All right, and then just dump it. Wow, look at that. Get it as evenly dispersed as possible. And a little bit of sausage seemed like it was teaming up over there. Looks like custard, right? Or bread pudding. Right?
Yes.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
Thank you. Okay.
My stomach is growling.
Good. I'm making the crew's stomach growl. That's good. Okay. So what you're going to want to do, get that, is, oh boy, I don't know if we have any foil.
We do, out there.
Okay. Foil. All right.
Yes.
So we're going to cover it with foil and put it in a 350-degree oven until the center is 150 degrees. So if you don't have an internal thermometer, get one. Otherwise, about 45 minutes. Really depends on your oven. Some ovens burn hotter. Like I did a test one yesterday in my home oven, and we're waiting for the foil. After 45 minutes, it was, and I also had put on the convection fan, which I probably shouldn't have. But after 45 minutes, it was actually up to about 175, which is fine. It's fine. 150 is sort of the minimum you want. So after it reaches 150, take the foil off and leave it in until it's brown on top. And that can be anywhere from 15 to 25 minutes. You just got to keep checking it. So you want to get that crispiness on top. Here we go. Beautiful. That there. And that's pretty much all she wrote, folks. We're not going to sit here for 45 minutes or more. However, what we are going to do is just get this in the oven so the rest of us here can take this home later. And then show you what I made last night. So I made it last night, and I just reheated it here. So you've got a nice brownness on top. Let's actually get something. Once again, I need a plate. Back there I put plates.
Yeah, plates.
All right, we'll get there, folks.
Where'd you put the plates?
They're right up on the counter there. Okay, so we're gonna just dish this out if anybody wants to try it. Here. Thank you. And you can see it's very custardy on the inside. Might have lost a little bit of a crispness in the transportation. And I've got one sort of surprise. Why doesn't somebody come and grab a piece?
Did you cook a baby in it?
Huh?
Is it like a king cake? Is there a baby in it somewhere?
There might be.
No, I passed those out, Scott.
Here we go. Yeah. That's for you.
Navigating the wilds of the...
Say hi, Todd. Hi, Todd.
Hello. They let me out of the director's chair. Shouldn't do that.
You want to try it?
Absolutely.
Is it? Tell me if it's hot first. I had to reheat it, and I'm not 100%.
Yeah.
It's hot. Good. Okay. First of all, the sausage was. I didn't have as much sausage as I was hoping for to put in this, so it's a little bit thin on the sausage. But the other thing is I didn't use real sausage.
No?
No, because I only got enough sausage for the demo today. I forgot to get extra for this for last night. So we had some vegetarian sausage. So there you go. Yes, you can make this with vegetarian sausage. Of course you can. So is it any good?
Delicious. Pretty good, yeah.
Not bad.
Yeah.
For fake sausage.
Yeah.
So anyway, that's pretty much it. There's your dressing. Once again, I'd like to thank everybody here. Todd, Sydney, Lee, and Celeste. And once again, I'd like to just say, let me get you first.
Hold on, Stephanie was asking, can you repeat that part, but I don't know which part she wanted to repeat. So let's find out what Stephanie wanted to repeat.
Okay, well maybe while I'm thanking people
Yes.
and stuff, she can type in what her
yes.
actual that part means. I can repeat the whole thing if you like. Hi, I'm Scott. So please remember to like us on Facebook and on Twitter and on Instagram. Subscribe to our YouTube channel. We love people to subscribe to our YouTube channel because we're going to be posting these hopefully once a month, all kinds of interesting stuff. Donations are always appreciated, of course, because we are, after all, a 501c3 corporation, and donations are all tax deductible. Did we get anything from Stephanie? Stephanie?
Cook time.
Cook time. Okay, so the cook time is approximately 45 minutes, but to an internal temp of 150 degrees. That's number one. That's with the aluminum foil on top. Once it gets to that stage, take the aluminum foil off, and you basically cook it until it's brown to your liking. My wife likes a really dark brown crust on top, so we'll probably let it go longer than you. But it's probably going to be somewhere between 15 and 25 minutes. And again, it depends partially on your oven. In my oven, I've got a convection setting, so I can turn on the convection, and that's going to brown it up a little bit faster. Okay?
Okay, yeah.
All set? Any other questions?
That's it. Well, we did have one question about could you do it without the sausage? And I think we answered that question.
You can do it.
Definitely with a
You can do it with.
vegan, vegetarian
You can do it
sausage.
with vegan vegetarian sausage if you don't want to put anything in.
And it's just
You know why? You could.
really bready salad.
Well, yeah, it's going to be very much more bread. I think if I was going to do that, I would increase the celery, possibly the onions, and maybe. Just try
Yeah,
that kind of
I've
thing.
seen recipes with this recipe would not work. But other recipes that have nuts and
Yeah.
dried cranberries and other things. That,
Yeah, and there's all kinds of different add-ins you can do. If you I looked it up. If you look it up and find different versions of this kind of thing, you'll see that kind of. You'll see all kinds of different nuts, dried cherries, dried cranberries, just really almost anything that you might want to think about putting in there, you can put in there. And you can use other kind of meats too. Sausage is traditional, but so yeah, it's a very versatile dish. It's really not that hard to do. And like I said, if you want to kick it up, there's a few little tweaks you can make, which makes it all that much more delicious. So enjoy. We will be monitoring the posts and in feedSCV and on Foodies. And if you have questions, please give us the questions. We'll try to answer them as quickly as we can. And also, we'll probably post. Well, the actual recipe is posted, but it's in a side post. So maybe I'll do
We'll have it up later today.
We'll have it up later on today, and also the YouTube.
Actually, no, it was emailed out to everyone.
Okay, it was emailed out.
But if you're catching this later, not live, we'll have it in the comments below.
Okay, so it'll be in the comments. It's going to be everywhere, folks. So thanks for watching, and look for more stuff in the future. We're going to be doing some stuff with the city.
Starting soon, yeah.
Starting soon. In fact, as soon as in about 5 minutes.
And in a couple weeks, we'll have some other Thanksgiving tips and tricks on our YouTube channel as well.
Right. We're going to be shooting some non-live stuff that has to do with Thanksgiving tips and tricks. So we'll be posting that in the YouTube channel. We'll definitely link to that in Foodies and in Speakeasy Bakery. We've got a few people that have volunteered. At least they think they've volunteered to do some really interesting stuff. Like I said, we're going to try to find somebody to do knife skills. So we're going to do some short things just on skills, things like that, because we don't have them. But there are people out there that do, and we know them. So we're going to get them in here. We're going to drag them in here whether they want to or not. So again, thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.